You are not poor by accident. Your mind has been helping it happen. You may say that you want more money. Yet unconsciously, you may arrange your life so that money cannot remain with you. You work, but you hide. You dream, but you do not build. You envy wealth, then secretly despise those who have it. You speak of freedom, yet shrink from the burden that freedom demands. And because these contradictions remain in darkness, you call the result fate. Do not misunderstand me. Misfortune is real. Families are marked by class, illness, disaster, exploitation, bad luck. Whole generations can be bent by history. But even then, another force often enters the room. The mind begins to cooperate with what wounds it. You are not only fighting circumstance, you are also fighting your own unconscious. And this is why effort alone so often fails to change your life. Money is never only money. In the soul, it becomes worth, permission, guilt, power, envy, freedom, duty. This is why a man can labor without rest and still remain where he began. The problem is not always effort. Sometimes it is the invisible meaning money has acquired within you. Let me speak of 5 mental blocks that may be quietly keeping you poor. The first is unconscious loyalty to the suffering of the family. This goes deeper than most people dare to see. You grow up watching your parents worry over bills, live with dependents, resent the wealthy, or endure the shame of never having enough. You tell yourself that you want a different life. But another part of you whispers, if I rise beyond them, I leave them behind. And so prosperity begins to feel like treason. If you become more prosperous than your parents, what happens to your belonging? What happens to the bond formed through shared struggle? You may never ask these questions directly. You only notice that whenever life begins to open, something inside you pulls the fire alarm. You procrastinate. You undercharge. You choose the smaller path. You earn more, then quickly lose it, spend it, or sabotage the very thing that made it possible. Why? Because prosperity threatens an old emotional contract. I have seen men remain smaller than necessary, so they would not outgrow the father who suffered. I have seen women hide their ambition, so they would not seem arrogant to a mother who survived by self-denial. The child says inwardly, I will not have more life than those I love. That sentence is almost never spoken, yet it governs countless destinies. The second block is moral suspicion toward money itself. In many homes, money is associated with greed, vanity, corruption, coldness, vulgarity. Success is treated as proof of selfishness. Power is imagined as something dirty. Then years later, you wonder why you cannot let yourself become financially strong. You say you want wealth, but inwardly wealth has been fused to an image you despise. You cannot move toward it without feeling that you are moving toward corruption. So you keep yourself poor in order to remain morally innocent. This innocence is expensive. You may under-earn for years because deep down you believe that visible success would make you less lovable, less pure, less human. You may never say this plainly. You give it respectable names. Bad timing, lack of opportunity, a stupid market. But beneath the complaint is a more intimate refusal. You still believe money would stain you. Until you make peace with power, you will flee your own capacity. Money is not holy and not filthy. It only enlarges the character already there. In selfish hands it becomes another weapon. In conscious hands it becomes reach, stability, service, protection. The third block is fear of visibility. To have more money usually means, in some form, to become more visible. Your work must travel farther. Your name may become known. Your competence may invite envy, criticism, projection, expectation. You may say that you want abundance while secretly fearing exposure. As long as you remain small, you can remain hidden. And for many of you, hidden still feels like safe. Perhaps as a child, you were shamed when you stood out. Perhaps achievement brought resentment from siblings. Perhaps success in the home made others cold, mocking, or distant. Then a cruel law was written inside you. To be seen is to be attacked. To rise is to lose love. To shine is to invite punishment. Once that law is in place, financial expansion becomes psychologically dangerous. You polish, revise, postpone, perfect. It looks like discipline. Often it is fear, dressed as refinement. You speak brilliantly about your plans, yet never bring them into the marketplace. As long as the work remains private, it remains protected from humiliation. The fantasy of success is preserved. Reality is avoided, and with it, income. The fourth block is attachment to fantasy instead of exchange. You may want the image of wealth more than the structure that creates it. You want relief without repetition. You want reward without service. You want money to rescue you from an unlived life, yet you do not want to enter the disciplines through which value is made visible. I have seen this often in intelligent people. You have ideas, dreams, talent. You speak of the business, the book, the channel, the craft. In imagination it already glows. But the moment reality asks for form, price, repetition, and service, your enchantment dies. Replying, pricing, improving, repeating, learning the unglamorous parts of the work, serving actual people instead of admiring your own potential. At that moment, you retreat. You prefer the inflation of fantasy to the humility of incarnation. This is how gifted people rot. They fall in love with possibility because possibility never humiliates them. Reality does. If you are in love with possibility, you can remain poor for years, while calling it preparation. What you call the right moment is often the fantasy that one day reality will stop asking effort of you. That day does not come. Money comes more reliably to those who can bear the smallness of repeated effort without feeling insulted by it. The fifth block is the hidden wish to remain a child. This is the one most people do not want to hear. You may not want freedom as much as you claim. You may want relief from anxiety without the burden of becoming fully responsible. Money is not only pleasure, It is accounting, boundaries, planning, restraint, delayed gratification, the ability to tolerate boredom, the ability to say no to impulse, the ability to endure the fact that no one is coming to rescue you. You may resist prosperity because prosperity would force you into adulthood. As long as you remain unstable, you can go on blaming parents, partners, governments, the economy, luck, timing, circumstance. Real obstacles exist, but so does this. A part of you still wants life without weight. You earn, then spend immediately. You avoid numbers because numbers make reality undeniable. You refuse to plan because planning feels like a prison. You make emotional decisions with money and call it spontaneity. You wait for clarity while ignoring the plain duties already in front of you. And all the while the child in the psyche says, I do not want to carry the weight of my own life. This attitude does not merely delay prosperity, it devours it. Why are these chains so hard to break? Because each one arrives wearing a virtue. Loyalty comes dressed as love. Fear comes dressed as humility. Cowardice comes dressed as purity. Fantasy comes dressed as vision. And childishness comes dressed as freedom. This is why the unconscious is so difficult. It rarely appears in ugly clothes. It comes dressed as something admirable. And because it seems noble, you protect the very pattern that impoverishes you. Then what must you do? Strip money of the poison you projected onto it. Ask what money has come to mean in you. Do you associate it with greed, vulgarity, domination, guilt, disloyalty? Do you feel more innocent when you have less? Do you secretly imagine that struggle makes you superior to strength? Then ask whose struggle you are still trying to honor by remaining small. Are you living out a vow you never consciously chose? Have you confused love with self-limitation? Have you mistaken loyalty for self-betrayal? Then ask whether you truly want exchange. Not the fantasy of being rich. Exchange. Offering something real. Letting it be judged. Improving it. Repeating it. Serving actual people. Tolerating the ordinary duties through which growth becomes material. Then ask whether you are adult enough to bear numbers, limits, repetition, and delay. Can you carry structure without calling it oppression? Can you face responsibility without collapsing into self-pity? Can you build slowly without needing constant emotional rescue? Material life does not bend because you resent it. It answers structure, value, repetition, responsibility. If you romanticize poverty, fear power, resent visibility, live in fantasy, and refuse adulthood, you will remain trapped no matter how often you say you want more. Inner conflict will quietly consume outer opportunity. Consciousness is not a lottery ticket. It will not spare you hardship. It will not erase injustice. But it does end the civil war within you. And when the psyche stops fighting prosperity, a great amount of wasted energy is released. Then your work stops leaking energy. Decisions lose their fog. Self-sabotage begins to starve. You no longer feel compelled to destroy what you have built. And if wealth comes slowly, it enters a self that no longer needs to spill it. That matters, for you may not merely need more money. You may need to become the kind of person who can bear value without guilt, power without corruption, visibility without panic, and responsibility without collapse. This is an inner achievement. Without it, outer gain often disappears as quickly as it came. If you have struggled for years, do not ask only what the world withheld. Ask what part of you still kneels before smallness. Ask what loyalty, fear, innocence, fantasy, or childish hope is still bargaining against your future. The answer may offend you. Good. Offense is sometimes the first sign that truth has entered the room. For poverty is not always broken by opportunity alone. Sometimes it breaks the moment you stop serving the inner pattern that required you to remain small.